My name is Xico. I live in the Sequoia National Monument in the Sierras in the Yucca land of the Tule Reservation, the Tule River Reservation. I'm about 11 miles from there, and this is it's the home of the Two Spirit Ceremony. I want to be able to capture nature and to be able to inspire people to connect with nature, and that is my main reason to be here and the main reason for our ceremony coming up. So we have a broad spectrum of ceremonies to really be able to create value and to further invest in ourselves for healing, to further invest in ourselves for these things that have caused us traumas in our lives. Nature has a way to do this. Nature has a way to be able to take in what we've forgotten living in big cities. Well, I saw that most of the Two-Spirit concept was used as a powwow or gathering, and those two words is like, okay, where's ceremony? Where is the ceremony part of it? And I was inside the Temazcal with my teacher, maestra, and all these teachings that she was teaching me. Wow, I was completely mesmerized by her. I was completely taken aback by the teachings that she shared with me when we erected the Temazcal, and it was just brand new. It had not been really exposed to the larger public. And inside of the Temazcal, as the ceremony was happening with me and her, I came to a realization that came so fiercely into my soul that I wish the teachings that she's teaching me that can be taught to Two-Spirit people. And I made that realization in ceremony. I made that realization inside the Temazcal. And that was powerful. That was really powerful because it was not something that I came up with thinking there must be a Two-Spirit ceremony because I thought about it, or we need to be, I need to be trendy or I need to be recognized. No, it came from a ceremony inside of the Temazcal. That's where I had that realization. So when we exited the Temazcal, the Temazcali, I voiced my desire with my teacher, and she says, by all means, you should create a Two-Spirit ceremony. She was the one who encouraged me to do that. And lo and behold, 2016, we had our first Two-Spirit ceremony, and my maestro was there. And now we're going on our 8th year of celebrating the ceremony. And it came from that one drop of medicine that she gave to me that now I'm giving to others. So it's important to create legacy. It's important to create young people to give them these values, to connect to nature, to connect to ceremony, to connect to what our ancestors taught us. And so that's more or less how the ceremony was created. Another part of it, which was sadly enough very hurtful, was that I went to a ceremony to propagate the first one, and I had little flyers that I had made, and I went to a ceremony, and in that ceremony, when I started to give out the flyers, I was so excited to create the ceremony, and I experienced homophobia from an elder that was attending, and the elder started the ceremony, sunrise ceremony, with homophobia, and she ended the ceremony with ceremony. She was part of that opening prayer, and in that opening prayer to the sunrise ceremony, she degraded queer people. She degraded, uh, our community. And I wasn't sure that I was hearing this right, but when I didn't know who that person was because there were so many people, so I didn't make a connection with her. So as the elders gathered and the ceremony started to participate, I went to give this individual the flyer. And she went like this to me, and she goes, "We don't accept Two Spirit people in our ceremonies." And I was really shocked because the way she did it is if I had a disease. The way she rejected my flyer was like if I had a disease. Later on, when the ceremony was ending, I was asked to give palabra, asked to say something, and I decided that was a perfect time to distribute more flyers, perfect time to tell people about the ceremony. I was so excited, even though I was hurt already by her, I was so excited that I was given an opportunity to reinforce the ceremony. And I spoke to everybody. There was maybe about 50 people, young, children, adults, of a danza ceremony in San Jose. And at that point, after I asked everybody, please come to my ceremony, the same individual who attacked me earlier came in and attacked me again. And in the microphone, she got on the microphone and said that gay people are pedophiles and that they should not be accepted at ceremony. These were the words she said, and everybody's jaw dropped. And everybody, including myself, I couldn't believe that she said these things. And people heard it all the way to the parking lot. People heard it because she was on a microphone. And I could not believe that in these modern times that this individual had so much homophobia, sentimental feelings, that she would say something like that to the public. And I was so devastated, and I felt like she had stomped me. Like I felt like she crushed me. And I went home sad, crying, feeling completely at loss. What had just took place in the ceremony. And I turned on the radio, and there was this kind of like report about this little boy who was tortured to death in Los Angeles, Gabriel Fernandez. And as I heard this report about this little boy that was tortured to death, his mother and the boyfriend basically tortured him because they thought he was gay. And that little boy died because they thought he was gay. And it was the most horrific thing you could hear about. This little boy's skull was cracked, his rib cage was broken, he had cigarette marks all over him. And I just started sobbing and crying, and I was in the car hearing this, completely frozen by this boy's reality. And I thought to myself, that boy endured more suffering than I did at that ceremony, where I was ousted, where I was, experienced this homophobia. This little boy experienced much more deeper suffering than I did. And I just remember so fondly realizing that I wish that I had been that little boy, and that suffering would have been given to me instead of that little boy, because I had already lived my life and that boy had not lived his life. And the only thing that little boy had, Gabriel Fernandez, was a little chihuahua that loved him unconditional. And that little boy suffered. And here I was thinking that I was suffering from this homophobia experience that I had, and how much this little boy endured. And at that moment, when I realized that, I summoned up the courage to forgive that woman for the homophobic actions. I forgave her, and because of her, I was able to summon up the courage that this ceremony must go on. And that is the foundation of the ceremony de Temazcali and Xavier Fernandez. Those two fundamental things is what made my vow even much more deeper, even much more profound, that this ceremony has to continue and it has to thrive, and the show must go on. No matter how much homophobia there's in the world, no matter how much bad policies, no matter how much the world is in crisis and havoc and craziness all over, where people lose their life for being true to themselves. That's what I think of myself, a Two Spirit, as a queer person. I think I am being true to myself, and I could be attacked, I could be killed at any moment because I'm being true to myself. So that is deep and profound, and that's why we wanted to have Two Spirit Ceremony, to create a space, safe space for queer folks, for Two Spirit folks, people of color that are part of this evolution of LGBT community. And we hope that in the future that we can create a conscious awareness that these things that were taught to us, this colonization ways of drugs, alcohol, and sex, particular synthetic drugs, that we can do away with that and start looking at ancestral medicine, that we can start looking at nutrition, that we can start looking at things that will instill our lives with value, what we call value creation. So I hope that answers your question.
Wecha!